Drowning is one of those deep, primal fears for so many of us. We've all seen it in the movies, we've heard stories, but what's really happening to the human body during something so terrifying? Well, that's what we're going to get into. We're going to break down the actual science behind the experience of drowning, from that initial struggle all the way to what it truly feels like based on hard research and the accounts of people who've actually survived it. So, yeah, this is the big question, right? It's a question that mixes cold, hard physiology with a really intense personal experience. We're going to push past all the myths and look at the data to understand the grim and, believe it or not, sometimes surprisingly peaceful reality of what happens when a person is fighting for their life in the water. And this isn't just some abstract fear. This is the estimated number of people who die from drowning worldwide, every single day. It's like a silent global epidemic, which means understanding this process isn't just morbidly interesting, it's actually critically important. Okay, so let's start where most people think they know the story, on the surface of the water. But here's the thing. What we think we should be looking for and what's actually happening are usually two completely different things. This first stage, it's a silent, urgent, and often totally missed window for a rescue. Yep, just forget everything you've ever seen in a movie. The biggest myth out there is that a drowning person is going to be thrashing around, yelling help, waving their arms. The scientific reality is the complete opposite. It's almost silent. See, if someone is shouting, it means they can breathe. A drowning person can't. What's really happening is something called the instinctive drowning response. This is the body's autopilot kicking in with one goal: breathe. The person is usually bolt upright in the water. Their arms are instinctively pushing down, trying to use the water as a ladder to get their head up, and their mouth just keeps bobbing below and then above the surface. They're physically incapable of waving or yelling for help. And here is the most chilling part. This entire, visible, silent struggle, it lasts, on average, for only 20 to 60 seconds. That's it. That is the entire window a bystander has to even recognize what's going on before that person slips under the water for good. It's unbelievably fast. So once a person goes under, a whole new series of events kicks off. And at this point, it's not about willpower anymore. This is all about the body's powerful, involuntary reactions to being submerged. And these reactions are even more intense in cold water. This chart basically maps out the body's automatic shutdown sequence. You can see right at the top, as soon as someone is immersed in cold water, it triggers this gas reflex and hyperventilation almost instantly. These are not choices, it's a physiological chain reaction that you just can't stop, and it leads directly to not being able to breathe. You can really break it down into 3 quick steps. First, you instinctively hold your breath for as long as you can. But then, very quickly, the shock from the cold and the carbon dioxide building up in your blood trigger an uncontrollable gasp. And if you're still underwater when that happens, and you almost certainly are, water floods into the lungs. And cold water just puts this whole timeline on fast forward. I mean, look at this. In water that's just 5 degrees Celsius, which is about 41 Fahrenheit, the average time someone can even hold their breath is a measly 9.5 seconds. Less than 10 seconds. That's all you get before that involuntary gasp kicks in. Okay, so that's the mechanics of it. But what is the person actually feeling while all this is going on? This is where we have to turn to the accounts of people who've been there and survived. And what they describe is this incredible and consistent pattern. An experience that starts with absolute agony and then shifts to this bizarre sense of peace. This survivor's quote just gets straight to the point. That first phase, when water enters the lungs, is described as intensely painful. People talk about a burning sensation in their chest, and it doesn't matter if it's salt water or pool water. It's just a violent, shocking feeling as your body's most basic need is taken away. And then there's this. After that initial horrible pain and panic, so many survivors report this sudden shift. The struggle just stops, the pain disappears, and it's replaced by this profound feeling of calm, of release, almost like giving in.
So what on earth is going on here? Well, this feeling of peace isn't some mystical experience, it's medical. It's caused by brain hypoxia, a severe lack of oxygen. As the brain is literally starved of O2, its functions start to go haywire, which can create feelings of euphoria, total tranquility, even vivid hallucinations. It's the brain initiating its own final serene shutdown sequence.
Which brings us to the last and maybe most critical part of all this, the timeline. From the second someone goes underwater, there is a very clear and rapid clock ticking down towards unconsciousness and, eventually, cardiac arrest. This is an absolute race against time. On average, once a struggling person is fully submerged, they will lose consciousness in about 75 seconds. Think about that. Just over 1 minute. That is how quickly the oxygen in their system gets used up and the brain simply can't function anymore.
One of the landmark studies actually mapped out this terrifyingly fast decline. And as you can see in this graph, the process is broken down into these distinct stages, charting the rapid failure of everything, from breathing to blood pressure, over just a couple of minutes.
Let's look closer at those numbers. On average, at 71 seconds, all physical struggling stops. That lines up almost perfectly with losing consciousness. By 130 seconds, that's just over 2 minutes, blood pressure absolutely plummets. And by 262 seconds, we're talking less than 4.5 minutes, blood pressure hits zero. The system just shuts down with shocking speed.
And here's what it all means for survival. The data here is just so stark. If someone is rescued in under 6 minutes, they have an almost 90% chance of a good outcome. But look at this. Between 6 and 10 minutes, that chance drops off a cliff to just 7%. After 11 minutes, less than 5%. It proves without a shadow of a doubt that every single second counts. And so that kind of brings us to the final thought here. Drowning is nothing like the movies. It is a silent, shockingly fast event. That surface struggle is over in a minute, and the window for a successful rescue is just a few minutes more. So knowing all this, understanding the silent signs and the brutal speed of it all, what does that change about our responsibility when we're the ones standing by the water?